sound of my own voice.
Yeah, you do. That's why you just sit there talking to yourself in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wondering, will anyone ever listen to this? That's a bit like doing a podcast, actually.
That's just a podcast, but you got slightly fewer listeners.
Would you say, off the bat, that the internet was a worse place in the early 2000s than it is now? Or would you say it was better?
Well, have we started the podcast? Yeah. Okay, because, I mean, I think this show is a time capsule, and I think the state of the internet plays a big part in that, because, look, I have a whole bit lined up for this, Lisa. You can't just throw it at me at the start. We haven't established any context.
Okay, all right. Let's lay some groundwork first. Tom Lang, welcome to Reanimates.
Hello, thank you.
Blah, blah, blah. We did that.
Was that... Okay.
I mean, I don't do a big palaver. I always assume people know what they're getting into.
You know, Tom Lang, that guy. They're like, who?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Tom Lang?
Yeah.
Comedian.
That's all you
Science
need to
communicator.
know.
Fun guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally watch a show.
Yeah.
Of everybody you get on this podcast, I'm probably the one who's seen the least stuff. I think my catchphrase when I hang out with you is, no, I haven't seen that. No, I haven't seen Godfather 1 or 2.
Yeah, but then sometimes I haven't seen something. And then you're really excited to show me.
Name one thing you haven't seen, Lisa.
Hey, I hadn't seen The Road to El Dorado when we watched that.
Yeah, but now you have.
You were really excited to show me.
Yeah,
and I imagine you're going to be really excited when we eventually watch Iron Giant.
Oh, I can't believe we haven't seen Iron Giant yet.
Exactly.
I forgot about that.
Exactly. You know, that's what friendship's about, Tom. It's all about sharing passions.
Making each other watch things.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, I did make you watch this.
I mean, that's the name of the podcast.
Yes.
Lisa makes people watch things.
Yeah, that are tangentially sometimes related to Jeffrey Combs. He is technically in this. He doesn't have a huge part, but you know what? We've gotten used to that in this podcast. In these parts.
Jeffrey Combs, like all Jeffrey Combs bits, he makes the most of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's loving it. He's having a little fun. It could have just been a boring role, but you know what? He had got a little spice on it, a little zazz.
Yeah. There were probably other guys in the scene with him.
Who cares?
Didn't notice. It was just Jeffrey.
Don't need them. Anyway, the thing we're actually talking about is a show called Freakylinks. This is season 1, episode 10. Live fast, die young. It's 10 or 11 because Wikipedia says one number, IMDb says another. So
maybe they count the pilot in one of them.
No, there's like a whole extra episode on the one that has 11 episodes. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was cancelled after one season.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Look, I'll disagree, but we'll get into that. It only ran for one season, so it's a sort of a sci-fi show from 2000. It is very 2000.
You can nail the date. You look at you like, this is the 2000est thing I've ever seen.
It's extremely dated, but I would say not in a terribly uncharming way. It was created by Greg Hale, who, I mean, most of the stuff he's done is producing. He produced the original Blair Witch Project, which is why this show looks the way it does, which we'll get into. And for horror fans, this is a little bit of a deep cut, but for horror fans, he also directed the Ride in the Park segment from VHS 2, if you remember that, the one with the GoPro.
I haven't seen it.
Kind of. We'll have to get you a T-shirt that says that. Don't ask me about movies. I haven't seen them. It was also created by David S. Goyer, who...
Did he do Satan Devouring His Children, or that was the other...
No, that was his brother.
The other Goyer.
Yeah. For some reason, he did this under a pseudonym. The pseudonym being Ricardo Festiva. Why did a Jewish man choose such a Hispanic-sounding name as a pseudonym?
I want to say street cred, but there were a lot of cool cars in this.
True.
A lot of cool guys, you know. Yeah.
But you know what he also wrote? Blade.
Oh, I have seen that.
Yeah.
Because you made me watch it.
Of course you have. It's one of the best movies of all time. Fuck yeah, Blade. And Blade 2 as well as Dark City. So
I have seen Dark City.
Yes.
There you go.
Batman Begins, Man of Steel. So a lot of kind of dark stuff.
He wrote this.
He was one of the creators.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So the basic premise of this show It's a bit X-Files-y.
Yeah, it's X-Files, but they're obnoxious. It's X-Files, but they have a website.
It's X-Files, but they're also like, they seem quite young. They seem like early 20s.
It's Buffy for dudes.
It is. Actually, it is, yeah.
It's X-Files, but they're computer files.
Oh. Ooh. So we've got Derek. He's our main character, played by Ethan Embry, who we love, and he's in heaps of stuff.
He did look familiar.
Yeah, he's in heaps of stuff. I know him best as Preston in Can't Hardly Wait, because I love that movie and I've seen it a bazillion times. And some mates. They run a website called Freakylinks where they...
It's a 2000s era website that has whatever they think is interesting.
Weird shit.
Which is, if you're not 30, you might not remember websites when they used to just be like, oh, I'm going to make a website.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll link to some other websites. Maybe you'll find it if you're on Alta Vista and you search for Bigfoot. Yeah,
you know, back in the day, I mean, this whole episode is going to age us terribly. I mean, if you're under 30, there's going to be so much you don't you don't get. But yeah, there used to be a time when you could just go to a website and the website, you could just be on the website.
You'd surf.
Yeah,
you can't surf anymore.
You can't surf the web. The web is a flat ocean now.
Back in the day, you'd be like, what can I find out there on the web? And now it's, what will they bring me? Mm-hmm. What will I be served?
What can I monetize?
We were hunter-gatherers, Lisa. We were pioneers. If you found a thing, you were like, oh, guys, you would not believe the website I found. And now it's, oh, look at this meme. Look at this thing I found on... And no one ever says, what website did you find it on? Because it doesn't fucking matter, because there's only 3 websites.
The internet's now just this sort of amorphous blob that sometimes you reach in and grab something. And I used to spend a lot of my time when I was younger on a website that was just called board.com. Yeah. And it would be sort of like not an aggregate, but it was literally
just a little bit.
It was just an ongoing, like a regularly updated page of like things that you could do. So it'd be like, here's a link to a funny puzzle game. Here's a link to a program you can download that lets you, I don't know, put shit in MS Paint.
Yeah, here's a link to a bunch of other websites that you might find cool.
Yes.
I used to, a little bit later, but I would be looking at like Cracked or College Humor back when they were good.
Cracked,
you know?
yes.
You had friggin' Mini Clip if you wanted to play some Flash games on your Shockwave player. You could get skins for Winamp. You know, at this point I may as well be speaking Babylonian. So Winamp was like an iPod, and iPods were like Spotify.
Okay, it was fun to be able to listen to music on the computer, capital T, capital C.
It really whipped the llama's ass.
Yeah, and like, and sometimes you could download a small animal to walk around your computer screen.
Yeah, a little sheep or a cat. This podcast has become Old Man Yells at Cloud. Back in my day.
But look, the internet is so bad now. There's no way that you can't be nostalgic if you grew up when the internet was less bad.
You'd get a music file, and it better be a small music file, because you'd have it on a floppy disk, and we used them for currency back in the day.
Oh, God.
The Kaiser had taken our gigabytes.
It's just crazy how quickly technology moves, because we're not that old. You know, I'm 36.
We're old in internet years.
That's true, but that's the thing. I remember a time very well. It wasn't that long ago when you would, download single files you would download a song of a single file and you would have it on your computer and you couldn't listen to it anywhere else until we finally got like CD burning technology, which to me blew my fucking mind.
Mm-hmm. I'll put it out there. I miss Flash. I miss it.
Oh.
Back to the show.
These
guys have a website, and now you know what that is.
They have a website, and for those of you who remember websites, it's like that. It's very like X-Files Monster of the Week stuff, and like the X-Files, it has an overarching plot that they don't deal with in this episode, but I assume in other episodes, where Derek takes over Freakylinks from his twin brother who died under, quote, mysterious circumstances. So every week really is just them investigating something fucking weird that is tangentially related to the internet. It's a bit like, for those who remember it, rotten.com. That's, probably a little bit less porny, I imagine.
Don't look that one up.
I mean, I don't even think that it's...
It probably does exist. It's probably just full of spam now.
So this episode was directed by David Barrett, who's just got this huge list of TV credits, one episode here, one episode there, and written by Michael R. Perry, who also wrote The Voices, a movie from 2014, the one where Ryan Reynolds hears voices, and Paranormal Activity 2. Because this is obviously like episode 10 or 11, there's not a lot of introducing the characters because the series assumes that you are not coming in, watching one episode from almost the end of the season and then leaving. I
can't say it took me a ton of time to catch up. They didn't seem to have a lot going on.
No, I just mean, well, mainly it was just trying to work out who the characters were because they weren't doing any exposition-y dialogue in order to do that. So cohorts of the website are Chloe, played by Lisa Sheridan.
She's the girl.
She's the girl next door. She's the Joey Potter of this series. And Jason, played by Kareem Prince. Both of them are just, jobbing TV actors. One of the first things you see in this episode is just the most 90s looking guy. Just this like...
cut-priced Guy Fieri.
Yeah. He looks like he should be the bass player of a nu metal band. So he's just a guy trying to send a video to Ethan Embry's character, Derek. And the video is called Dead Mule Gulch. I don't know what a gulch is.
It's like a gorge.
Okay. That makes that video make sense. Yeah. Okay. That's a stupid word.
Oh, well, what else are you going to call a erosion formation creating a depression in the ground? Something silly like a valley?
There's so many words for that shit already.
And gulch is one of them.
Crevasse. Two words that sound almost exactly the same and mean very similar things. Yeah. I hate that. English language. Stupid fucking bullshit.
And this file is 11.5 megabytes, which they describe as the size of Montana.
Oh, I didn't see the size. Yeah, I get the feeling that these guys are like kind of techie if they run a website. So they've probably sorted their home system out.
One of them even had a cell phone.
That's true, they did.
That's Chloe's superpower, I think.
Yeah, she's the girl with the cell phone. I know how my life was in the year 2000. I don't know how everyone else's life was. And so to me, like nobody really had cell phones in 2000. I think maybe I got my first one when I was maybe 2001 or 2, 14 or 15.
Yeah, wow.
It was still a piece of shit phone.
Yeah.
I think it was a, Nokia 3210. Although I say piece of shit, I would kill to have a phone that lasted as long as those did now.
Well, of course. And I grew up in the country, so you'd like take off another decade. We didn't have the internet. My parents were on dial-ups till, I don't know, 2010, 2015.
Oh, God. Sender, who's a guy called Biggs. He's attacked by a bunch of people in these weird sex masks, and they steal a VHS back from him. And then, like the next day, Derek and Chloe, they watched this video that Biggs sent them, and it's these very intense, cracked out folks who are playing around on a bridge. One of them jumps off. Definitely seems like he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's fine.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, there's your episode trailer right there.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
And nowadays, we would be like, oh, it's photoshopped, it's AI, it's whatever. But these guys are blown away because they're like, wow, how do you do that?
They're like, wow, streaming video.
What is this? It's moving pictures.
It's like this dead guy's coming right at me out of the screen.
This isn't really happening in real life, is it? Yeah, I do like one... Chloe, I think maybe she doesn't like Biggs or something because she says something.
No, I don't like Biggs. Biggs seems like a piece of shit. Just seems really obnoxious, and that's by the standards of everybody else in this show.
Well, also, Biggs also runs a website called sickanddisgusted.com. Yeah. So maybe he is a dirtbag.
He's got that classic, like, 90s, 2000s character where there's like, oh, this is my best friend. Also, he's a huge piece of shit. And everything he does is gross. And he's off there trying to, like, put something in a girl's drink or something. Like, cut it out, buddy.
Come on.
Stop murdering that kitten.
You rascal. Chloe does say that one of the videos on Biggs's website is kitten versus chainsaws. So, that sounds more like rotten.com.
Yeah, but he's just a good guy.
Oh, it's just he's a bit rough around the edges, but, he's good at heart. Biggs gets taken by the cracked out teens to a guy who's like chained up to 2 barrels.
It's very unclear what was happening.
I don't know who that guy was.
I don't know. It's just to show they kill people and they're bad dudes.
And they drive around while nu metal plays very loudly.
The entire show is just nu metal.
Oh, there's so many just like nu metal and goth rock needle drops. It's a great soundtrack.
I think, we should paint the picture that this show is cool as fuck. Like, in the year 2000.
Yes.
It's every single scene transition has like 5 quick cuts from different angles of shit that isn't even in the scene. Yeah,
there's a lot of like jumping around. There's a lot of very like cinematic sort of whip panning. It's very.
There is not a straight shot in the piece.
It feels very ADHD when you watch it.
Yes, it's extremely.
It's like no, we can't focus on one shot for too long. People will get bored.
Yawnsville.
You can't just have a static shot. That's gross. Derek and Jason investigate the bridge. Derek almost gets hit by a car, which makes sense at the end of the episode and only then. But I don't know why they felt the need to signpost it here.
I already forgot that happened.
It's really strange. Yeah, I know. It's really strange they bothered to signpost that. They interview a woman who is convinced she saw a body with, quote, syringes as big as turkey basters hanging out of it.
That's fair. That's a big syringe.
I thought she was exaggerating, but the syringes made for this episode, potentially, I don't know if they really make...
No, those are real syringes.
What do you need a syringe?
A horse.
Oh. Okay, so is that like...
You got a big animal, you got to give it a lot of medicine.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess I don't know, I thought maybe you could just use a normal one and just give it lots of...
No, you don't want to poke a horse 20 times.
Well, I don't know, how thick is a horse? I mean, cows maybe, but how thick is a horse hide? Country boy?
Well, it's more like you don't want to piss off a horse.
That's true, yeah. You don't want to be fiddling around with a small needle when you've got a big horse.
And I reckon there's probably... Maybe if you want to give a human a lot of medicine, you just do it with like an IV bag or something nowadays. But I reckon there'd be situations like in the field, he says, as if he has any idea what he's talking about, where you got to give someone a lot of liquid for some reason through a syringe. Yeah.
I mean, this episode is 100% just like a say no to drugs allegory.
It really is.
It's not even subtle about it.
And, well, I think it not only comes across as like, hey, kids, don't do drugs. Because these guys also, by the way, they meet these two bad dudes who kidnapped, what's his face? Guy Fieri. And they're bad dudes who do super drugs.
Yes.
That's the crux of the show. They do super drugs that give them not dying powers.
One of them even has a shirt that literally says on it, habitual offender.
There you go.
Like, a bit on the nose, guys.
Tonight,
come on.
In a very special episode of Freakylinks. We've invested a lot of mysteries today, but there's no mystery as to what you should say if someone offers you drugs.
Just say no, kids, from your friend, Mulder and Scully.
But it not only came across as like trying to appeal to like cool young people to not do drugs, the whole thing had a bit of like reefer madness about it.
Yes.
Because everyone in the show, even the like good guys, are obnoxious and are constantly doing stuff that is so annoying.
Yep.
And they're all dressed like to shock the oldies. They got a lot of gelled hair. They live in dirty apartments. There are midriffs. They're on the internet.
They have tattoos. They have tattoo.
Driving around in cool cars, scaring people.
Well, you know, they steal the car, Tom. I mean,
those guys did.
They steal, Like, to me, they look like they should be early 30s, but that's because I think people on TV longer ago looked older. Like, people on TV now all look 20, even if they're not. Everyone's got sort of Instagram face and everyone looks incredibly young, whereas I feel like people looked older back when we were younger.
I think I'm mid-30s, so I just assume everyone else is mid-30s because everyone's my age, right? And anyone who is younger than me, I'm like, that's not right. When did that happen?
You're a baby. And everyone older than you is Methuselah.
Yeah, or my parents.
So Derek and Jason go to see a coroner because they want to figure out who the dead guy was and, you know, if he has any connection to the cracked out weirdos on the bridge. They go to see the coroner, who doesn't have a name. He's just the coroner. But we know his name.
It's Jeffrey
Combs.
And we go, yay!
Yay! We did go yay.
Also, can I point out, so they're in a new town. This is not their hometown. They travelled. And they're like, we should go check out the coroner, see if he has anything to say. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? You just rock up to the coroner's office, knock on the door and start asking about dead people?
Apparently.
The coroner is totally on board with this.
Totally on board. There doesn't seem to be a huge amount of administrative red tape in order to go in and talk to a coroner. To go into the place where he dissects bodies with no PPE.
Which I assume is a hospital, like the back end of the hospital or something.
Yeah, it just looks like an old, like a sort of fusty room.
Yeah. I reckon they just went to Jeffrey Combs' house and he had all that stuff just lying around.
They were like, Jeff, can we just film in your house today? Where budget's a bit stretched.
He was like, okay, but you'd better be having a coroner show because I'm already dressed up. That's not what he sounds like.
No, it isn't.
I can't do Jeff.
But he does. No one can. He cannot be impersonated. One of a kind. Jeff is, in his scenes, he is playing a creepy little man. His coroner character is constantly listening to classical music, and he seems to be... I imagine if we saw more of this character, it would be the kind of guy who never leaves the lab, and he, like, talks to the corpses because they're his friends, and, you know, like, kind of very socially inept because he doesn't like talking to the living, that sort of thing.
It'd be a wacky comic relief character in a cop show.
He shows them an exploded heart that he got out of the dead guy.
He was like, oh, thank God you guys are here. I got to show you this exploded heart. He's so happy.
He's incredibly excited to show them. It's also, most of the organs seem to just be in, like, Tupperware.
Yeah.
It's like, is that, I mean, I don't know.
I honestly have no idea.
I don't know what you keep body parts in, but I feel like...
It doesn't look so good on TV, just having it in a big plastic Tupperware.
No, it's got to be in like an ornate glass jar. I mean, it's a TV show. Do something fun with it. And he tells them, in his medical opinion, that the victim was scared to death.
Well, no, I actually wrote it down. It looks like terminal psychosomatic trauma, which obviously isn't a real thing.
Well, psychosomatic would mean that he... like, sort of imagined it, right?
Well, no, psychosomatic is when your mental state affects your physical state.
Oh, okay.
And so terminal psychosomatic trauma is pretty much literally scared to death.
Okay.
Or somehow emotion to death. But the important thing about, like, psychosomatic stuff is you can only identify that by ruling out other causes. Like, if someone has a psychosomatic rash, it's not a specific looking rash. It's just a rash that has no other cause. But there's, like, some other psychological stuff happening. So you go, you're super anxious, there's no allergens, maybe this rash is psychosomatic.
Okay.
So you can't look at an exploded heart and go,
yeah,
classic.
Well, he went, there was no legal or illegal drugs in his system, so it must have been fear.
Yeah, they teach you day one, creepy coroner school. That is a psychosomatic heart explosion.
Yeah, I guess, well, yeah, it's kind of like when Miss Hoover thought she had Lyme disease. I don't hate the dialogue in this show. In terms of the kinds of shows that were around at the time, this is quite like, the dialogue's quite naturalistic. It's quite chatty, which I like. It doesn't feel over-polished. Doesn't feel over-dramatic like, something like The OC would be. I
think... Jeffrey certainly got all the best lines.
Well, yeah, because but he also has such a good way of delivering them.
Yeah, he was from a less annoying show.
he transported from the X-Files. Oh man, I'm so bummed he never got to do an X-Files. Fucking what a waste.
So he's got this one, the next best thing.
Yeah. They gave him a few little comedic lines, I think, because they obviously wanted to have this little. Because it's not like a ha-ha funny show, but he got lines that are genuinely funny.
I sort of got the vibe that the show is meant to be a bit funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of kooky stuff. Some of these characters are pretty over the top. Or is it meant to be dramatic? I didn't feel a great sense of drama, but maybe it's so aged that it's hard to take it seriously.
Well, I think it's a little bit like X-Files, where it's mostly dramatic, but... because the characters are all good friends, you have to have moments of levity.
Yeah.
So there are moments of levity, like where they joke around a bit, but then it's like, all right, but back to business. A lot of goth rock plays as Derek and Jason go looking for the address of the people that sent Biggs the video. There's a lot of, not as much in this episode, but you can tell it's like a regular thing in the show. A lot of like found footage style filming of things, which obviously is where the Blair Witch influence is showing.
It does occasionally cut to like a really VHS kind of transition.
Well, yeah, because they're like filming everything for the website. And then, inevitably the show will sort of cut to it, which I like because I really like found footage horror. And, it's nice to just break up the scenes with something like that. I'm fine with it. So the two
What are we calling them? The bad guys?
Well, I'll just call them by their names for now.
Bonnie and Clyde.
I just kept calling them like freaks and bridge freaks. So our bridge freaks are Chapin, who I've never heard that.
Chapin.
Chapin. Like,
okay.
I've only ever heard that as a surname. I didn't realize that was someone's first name. And played by Eric Balfour, and Claudia played by Paige Moss. Fun fact, Tom.
Okay.
And this is only fun for me.
Yeah.
But Ethan Embry, Eric Balfour, who played Chapin, and Paige Moss, who played Claudia, were all in Can't Hardly Wait.
There you go.
Isn't that crazy? So Ethan Embry was the main role in Can't Hardly Wait. Eric Balfour played, and God, this is such a fucking stupid deep cut, but if anyone remembers this movie, Eric Balfour plays the hippie guy that eats the brownie off Lauren Ambrose's face when he's like, I don't want to waste it, because it's like a weed brownie. And Paige Moss plays Ashley, who is the girl that Seth Green's character hits on, and she starts making fun of him because back in the day he had Cheeto stuck in his braces. Chester Cheeto.
We've gone to a different podcast now. This is now the Can't Hardly Wait podcast.
Can't Hardly Pod. Look, no, that's weird. There's only a small cast in this show.
But there's a huge cast in Can't Hardly Wait.
Yes, but still.
They were like, give me every attractive teen in Hollywood.
That's true. And some people in their early 30s.
Yes, well, that's what counted as teens at the time.
I mean, look, when you go back and watch Can't Hardly Wait, there's a lot of familiar faces. Yeah, some even in the background. Anyway, it's a great movie. I really like
Jeffrey Combs is there somewhere.
If only. So they get caught by Chapin. I'm going to say Chapin. And then somehow the trailer home that they're in explodes.
I tuned out in this scene at some point. This was a filler.
Well, I was watching, but I can't figure out how it exploded.
Well, there was a gas tank that he shot, and the little caravan was full of drug evidence of some kind.
I guess so. I mean, we do find out that they are sort of like meth dealers, so you have to assume it's kind of...
They're involved with drug stuff, which is how they found the super drugs.
Yeah.
I also think this was, a 40-minute episode?
Yes.
And I felt it had 22 minutes of plot. So they were spacing it out a little here, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of repeated scenes. There was a lot of scenes where they're driving in a car very dangerously. There's like 3 or 4 different cuts to them driving in a car, zooming around. Derek gets kidnapped by the Bridge Freaks. Jason and Chloe chat to a sheriff who's a real bitch.
She was an interesting character.
Well, she was fine. She was like one of those small town sheriffs who never has a deputy or fucking backup anywhere.
She's a very low rent Frances McDormand in Fargo.
Well, yes, she's got a very regional accent. She's also played by Finn Carter, who was Rhonda in Tremors.
There you go.
I love Tremors.
I haven't seen it.
It's funny that we have conversations at all. You know?
It really is. It's because we both like dogs.
That's true. And often you will very kindly explain a very simple scientific or otherwise concept to me that I don't understand. The sheriff also, she says that thing that they say in a lot of shows, which is it takes 48 hours for someone to be missing. I don't think that's actually true.
I don't know. It depends on the local laws.
I mean, do you think that's a state thing?
It's got to be. It's all state things. Like American, the point at which you can declare someone a missing person is a legal threshold. And all of those legal things are state to state in America, unless the federal government has decided to trample on states' rights by removing their freedom to go missing for more than a day.
Did QAnon tell you this? No, okay. Well, I don't know. That seems like too long.
Well, I don't know, Lisa. Take it up with the Supreme Court.
I will. Hello, Q. You want me to what?
Speaking of adrenochrome, they all get kidnapped at some point by these 2 junkie guys. We really need to nail down what we're calling them.
I'm just going to call them by their names, but we'll come back to that. I keep forgetting their names because I actually...
Chapin and Gothi.
Chapin and Claudia. They're the freaks.
Bonnie and Clyde.
So they take Derek. He's naked. He's bound in a warehouse. Classic situation that we all find ourselves in.
They didn't address why they got him naked. It's just for the style. They got some really good shots out of that.
Yeah. And, it's
Creepy.
they obviously just wanted to, humiliate him. And maybe they just want to see his dick.
They do have very much that, like, blah, we're bad guys. Whoa,
Yes.
we're crazy.
We're psychopaths. Yeah. So
Look at my little beard.
little soul patch, earrings,
Bad guy.
bleach blonde hair. He looks the most Y2K I've
He's
ever
the
seen.
real Slim Shady.
Oh, we found him. Oh, good. It is funny. This is this is Derek explaining something on Freakylinks to the two people.
I want to know about Bigfoot.
Well, Bigfoot is a Western folklore. I'm more versed in the Florida skunk ape.
What is that?
He's a guy that found the fountain of youth down in the Everglades, and when he drinks the water, it turns him Cro-Magnon. Lives in a retirement home down there.
And you've seen him?
Yeah. Seen him, smelt him. Friend of the family.
So yeah, you can imagine that it is a little bit like Mulder's casebook, full of some genuinely interesting things and then also some weird conspiracy shit.
But also, they've heard of Freakylinks. They're one of the 10 subscribers. Oh, you're the guy from Freakylinks.
Hey, we don't know. We don't know how popular Freakylinks is in this universe. It could be as big as Cracked.
He's got one of those little page counters down the bottom that every time someone visits, they can write in your guest book.
Well, and you know what? I bet his site even has a site map.
Ooh.
That's how you know it's a big deal. So Jason and Chloe and the coroner are watching the bridge video. So they're watching the video, and then the coroner's like, "I know that guy." He's like, Jason's like, "What? You know him?" He's like, huh.
Know him. I dissected him.
He brings out this corpse that is very obviously the guy from the bridge video, which I thought we had already established that we knew that guy was dead. But again, it doesn't matter.
All these white-tipped 90s guys kind of blend together for me after a while.
They do all look the same. Bonnie and Clyde take Derek for the first of many speedy drives, and while they are driving around very recklessly, listening to loud music and jamming giant syringes into their chests.
Oh, yeah.
It's every parent's worst nightmare.
Do you know where your teens are?
Do you know where your children are? Shooting up mysterious adrenaline-laced liquids into their chests with the biggest syringes you've ever seen. The coroner gets a police report from the cops regarding the bridge freaks, and Jeffrey Combs says this, which I think it's like the last line of the show that he gets, but it's really funny.
Oh, I don't help people. I only figure out how they died.
I hope he turns up again next episode. I want them to ring that guy and get, like, advice on a weird thing they found.
You can always use a coroner.
Right? And this guy does not give a fuck about his job.
No.
He doesn't care about the system. He's not like, what are you guys doing in here? You can't be poking around a body. He's like, you guys want to see a fucking body? You guys, I got so many hearts back here.
Guys, do you want to see this weird shit I pulled out of a body earlier?
They could call him up next week and be like, Jeffrey, we need a femur. He'd be like, I got 5. How big?
Yeah, he would have been so useful.
No one appreciates Jeffrey till he's gone.
No, well, I don't know. What was he? So this was 2000. So, well, he was also, I mean, Beyond Reanimator was released in 2000. So he might have been still doing that. So he was busy.
Hot demand.
He was busy. So Bonnie and Clyde and Derek get into a car accident, of course. And Claudia just goes right through the fucking window, but she's fine. They keep doing this, where they keep filling the episode with examples of how the bullshit they're injecting saves their lives, makes them sort of invincible.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to keep showing us.
But it's to rub in that these guys are crazy.
Yeah.
They're like seeking the ultimate thrill. And it's at about this point that I went, oh yeah, it was the early 2000s. There was nothing else to do. Like, they're out in rural America. They don't have the internet. They don't have mobile phones. You're gonna get on drugs and do like crazy shit on the internet. Nowadays they're doing that, but they're posting on TikTok. These guys are just doing it for their own happiness. And if anything, I think that is more heartwarming.
So you think it is the internet's voyeuristic eye that has ruined psychopathic drug accidents for the teens?
Back in the day, if you saw someone driving recklessly or doing drugs, you were like, They want to do that. That's for them. There was something real about it. And now you see someone driving realistically, like, I bet you're not even a psycho. I bet you're just pretending for viewers. This whole thing is made up.
You're just play acting
Right.
the psychopathic drug mule for
Right.
clout.
And then you go home and you sit there and you push out your social medias. This is, you're faking this whole lifestyle. I bet none of you insane thrill-seeking teens are actually insane and thrill-seeking. Someone on the internet injects themselves with a horse needle full of a mysterious adrenochrome. It's probably just saline solution.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah, and then they're like, hey kids, do this, it's cool. And then the other kids are like, nah, it's fake, it's cringe, bro.
Yeah.
That's sus. Oh, fuck, I feel so old.
I don't know if they say cringe or sus anymore.
They say cringe, almost definitely.
Almost
Who's
definitely.
they? Young people. Derek pretends to be super keen and excited in order to gain their trust. And like Ethan Embry, I think he's a really good actor. I think he's good.
Because, look, here's the thing is we're expecting you've already seen 9 episodes of this, which I haven't. And so from the start of this, everyone on this show is obnoxious to me, including Ethan Embry, because he's playing, his character is just slightly less obnoxious than the other guy, but he's still a cool 2000s guy. He still walks around like Ace Ventura and has little gel-tipped hair and wears gross clothes and runs a website of freaky shit.
Please explain to me how Derek is in any way like Ace Ventura.
Because everyone in this show is like doing the cool guy walk, where they kind of like strut about like Ace Ventura. You know, go watch Ace Ventura, old media. He walks like a bird. He walks like a big chicken, like moving your neck a lot. It's a great bit of characterization.
It's not the first thing I associate with Ace Ventura. Certainly not. There are 3 or 4 other things I think of when I think of Ace Ventura.
Well, Ace Ventura is one of only 4 movies I've ever seen. So.
That's true. Yeah, you've got a limited well to draw from.
Yeah. So then by the time that he's like, oh, I've got to pretend to be a cool, thrill-seeking guy, I'm like, I don't know you well enough to know that's not what your whole character is. You're cross-country in a car with no visible means of support seeking urban legends. You are a cool, thrill-seeking guy. This is not out of character.
Yeah, but,
not drugs.
Not drugs. That's the point. You know, he has to pretend to be, I guess, an uncool guy, you know.
That's true.
Because cool guys don't do drugs. Unless it's medicinal marijuana. That's fine. For your chronic pain.
Medicinal reefer sadness.
They decide to test him, so they cuff him to a wheelchair and make him do like a tilt-a-ball.
Marble run.
Well, yeah, so he calls it a tilt-a-ball.
Yeah.
Tilt-a-ball
it's
puzzle.
One of those little marble mazes that you don't want to drop it through the holes.
Yeah.
Wait, and is that, they just had that lying around or something? They're like, we've got to find a little jigsaw-style puzzle for this guy to do.
Yeah, something to really psychologically fuck with them.
We've got a marble maze here.
Yeah, I don't know.
They try to make it sexy because the Bonnie is there and she's like, hey, Derek, you go to this marble maze. I'm going to drop the little ball in and lick your face while you're doing it.
That is true. She tries to make the marble maze seem really horny. It's not very
dangerous.
It's not very. I mean, look, you know, Paige Moss is obviously a very cute girl.
She's
but
trying very hard.
It's and she shows a lot of midriff in this.
Yeah.
She is all midriff.
Her midriff goes all the way up.
Yeah, midriff till Tuesday. And there is like later on, there's a really pointed shot of like a tattoo that she has like just above her sort of pelvis, and we're meant to think that's the most erotic thing in the world.
I couldn't figure out what it was. It just looked like a little line.
It was a feather, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, the point of the tilt-a-wheel, because this ain't your daddy's tilt-a-ball puzzle. This is fucked. This is fucking insane, bruv. Because they make him do the puzzle, but they only give him 3 chances, and if he loses, they've got Biggs tied up to a thing, and they're going to drop him into a pit of scorpions.
Yeah. Big bowl
Not
of scorpions.
a bowl, not even a pit. They're also, and this is something I don't fully understand. Maybe you understand this better than me. But this is the first time where we see where they get the stuff that they inject. They seem to be harvesting it from people when they are scared.
Yeah, it's adrenochrome.
So is that what adrenochrome?
No, it's not. Adrenochrome is a fake idea.
Well, okay.
Isn't adrenochrome like? And I'm just. That's like the QAnon thing where they're like, oh, they're stealing children and harvesting their adrenal glands to keep celebrities alive forever.
Yeah. I mean, I know a little bit about the conspiracy side, but again,
Yeah.
the conspiracy
Not
side
a-
is
no, not a real
made up
thing,
bullshit. Yes, but
And she calls it something else. She calls it necromorphin,
ugh.
which I haven't looked up, but I'm assuming is fake. Yeah, they just needed a cool chemical word. But no, you can't just stick a needle in someone's neck and scare them and have clear liquid come out.
But I don't really know much about hormones.
Yeah.
You can't inject someone and take their hormones out. Can you?
Yeah.
God, I really don't know anything about anything.
But the hormones get mixed in with like your blood and all your other like your lymphatic system and stuff. Like they're in there with all the other chemicals.
Okay,
so
they're just hanging out.
It's hard to get a pure hormone. Mm-hmm. I think you'd have to go to a lot of work there. Get someone's adrenal gland. You can squeeze that a bit. But no, you just can't stick a needle in somebody.
Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know that this show is not factually accurate.
Also, if you're a biologist and you wanna correct me, feel free. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. If there's Tom definitely knows more about science than me, but is not a chemist or biologist.
Yes.
So
No.
if you want to correct him, please do. I love doing that when I have the opportunity. Also, this little exchange is very funny.
You guys are insane!
I know. Now concentrate.
See, they're wacky. They're so crazy.
Yeah, they're real edgy guys.
They're on the edge of sanity.
And here's the part of every thriller where I'm like, okay, we've established these guys are thrill-seeking. They have no impulse control. They're just living on the edge of the seat, okay? This guy is taking multiple days and trips to the hardware shop to get some kind of crane situation that you can strap someone to and then lower them in increments towards a scorpion pit. And on the way back, he picked up a little marble maze and he's like, I think there's something here.
Where did he get all the scorpions?
Yeah.
Where did he get a wheelchair? Who owns this warehouse?
I reckon, look, the only way I can justify it to myself is at some point he kidnapped a nerd. And he was like, nerd, you're going to build me a torture device. Psycho out. I'm going to go drive fast now.
Yeah.
When I get back, I want to see something involving scorpions.
Yeah. He's like, I need you to create a James Bond style, very finicky trap because this is a TV show. I'm not just going to straight out shoot someone.
Right.
That's too easy.
It's going to be crazy.
I want it to be a fun game, like Jigsaw.
His girlfriend's there. She's like, the marble run? Really? He's like, it'll be crazy, girl. Like, trust me, I can make this marble run scary.
I can make it. I can make anything fucking fucked. Just you watch.
They've got a bet on that. He can't make like the lamest thing cool.
Yeah, he's like sitting in it. He's like sitting in an inflatable chair, and he's like, "Hey, Claudia, what about fucking snakes and ladders, but real snakes and real fucking ladders?"
Yeah. Chapin, you're so crazy.
Shut up, baby. I know it. So Derek does win this stupid puzzle, this children's toy.
we were on the edge of our seat.
Chapin accosts Jason and Chloe, who have gone down to the warehouse to investigate. Video camera in hand, of course. And then the cop is also there, like behind them, thinking that there is an assailant with a gun, Chapin.
Which there is.
Loads 6 or so, I reckon a whole cartridge into Derek, who is still in a wheelchair.
No, he's behind a curtain at this point. Because there's like a shadow of a guy with a gun.
There's a shadow, yeah.
Yeah, and behind the curtain is Derek.
He's
And
behind
she
a
shoots him
curtain.
a bunch and then they push him out in front of the curtain.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
The fact that I didn't see the curtain, okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
I mean, it wasn't...
Because this small town sheriff unloading a whole clip into a man in a wheelchair didn't surprise me.
I found this fully believable.
Yes.
He's got a wheelchair, get down!
NYPD, yes, they're stealing a bit. But, okay, look, that's a little bit more sympathetic to the character, at least. It turns out they had injected Derek with the syringe. And they tell Derek that the person that created this concoction was a medic in Stalin's army.
There you go, yeah.
Sure.
I'm fine with this. They were like, where'd you get this crazy drug from? Some Russian guy, Russian lab, blah, blah, science stuff.
Yeah.
You harvest it from scared people.
Well, it was kind of like, these bad these bad people, where did they get the bad stuff they do? Even worse people,
course.
Russians.
I mean, whenever you have to justify something, you say Hitler's occultists did it.
Yep. I don't know. In the early 2000s, that felt more like they were doing like anti-Arab stuff.
Sure.
Like there was a lot of like Arab villains and things like that. I thought Russian stuff was more like Cold War.
Yeah, I guess it just depended which writer you had on the day.
That's
Who
true.
their go-to villain was.
So Chloe, Jason, Biggs, and the sheriff are all being harvested for their adrenochrome. That's fine. Again, I'm not going to look too far into it. It doesn't need to make sense. This is a 45-minute episode of this show. Claudia ends up revealing what we think is her true self to Derek about how she doesn't want to keep doing the stuff anymore. She wants to get out, but she can't stop taking it. Definitely not, a sort of relatable drug allegory of, is your teen addicted to adrenaline meth?
Is your teen showing a midriff? How much of a midriff? That's too much.
Signs of a midriff teen. Well, there is a point when Derek kisses Claudia.
Because he's being bad now. He's like, I don't care about my fucking friends. I only care about drugs.
He's pretending to be bad drug guy, but what he's actually doing is slipping Claudia the key, which I've seen in various things before.
It's more common than people just making out in movies.
Yeah, but it's also so... Every single time I see that in a film or a TV show, I always think, oh, she wasn't expecting it. She could have fucking swallowed it. It's a really small key.
She's a cool chick. She swings with the punches.
Yeah, she knows. She understands
This isn't the first time they've done tonsil handcuff key hockey.
Somehow he was able to communicate with his tongue. There is a key here. Don't swallow it. So Chapin and Claudia take Derek for yet another insane drive. They leave him alone with their supply, which is insane. You just met this guy. They go off to pee off the side of the road.
Impulse control.
Yeah, they just leave him with a cooler full of booze and
Drugs.
The two worst things.
He tips out all the drugs, replaces them with the bottle of water that they brought along because hydration is important.
That's true. They don't want to get dehydrated while they're killing themselves. So they decide a test of faith. Claudia and Chapin inject Derek with the stuff.
And themselves.
What they don't realize is that it is only Derek that got the stuff. I don't know how that works because I
totally missed that bit.
I thought Derek had
replaced all
all
stuff.
of them.
Why did he have one needle left and how did he get it?
Exactly. And what was the likelihood that he was going to get the one with the stuff?
Didn't make any fucking sense. I reckon they cut a scene there.
They had to do a jump in logic because of what happens next, which is that first of all, they're trying to track Derek's cell phone.
Oh,
was this a thing you could do in 2000?
Sure, but they're just making an excuse to get the rest of the gang to catch up. Let's brush past that.
I mean, look, that's fine.
They had cell phones. They had cell phone towers. They jibbity jobbity, push the buttons, call the guy at the precinct.
Enhance it. Yeah, that's true. Claudia and Chapin want to rob an armored car.
Mm-hmm. They brought this plot element in really fucking late.
Yes. They were like, let's do this.
By the way, we're also doing crime.
Yeah. Well,
because of the drugs.
But that's the thing. They haven't needed money up until now because they've just been kidnapping people and stealing their adrenaline or whatever the fuck they're doing.
They might have been doing other crimes, though. We just didn't see them.
That's true. So many other crimes. Bigamy. Derek even tells them that he switched the serums. And then they throw him in front of a truck and he gets violently hit by the armored car.
And at this point, I'm like, wait, why isn't Derek dead? Because they're like, oh, we're gonna rob this armored car because we're invincible. And yeah, that's a pretty good plan. What's the worst that's gonna happen? This guy's gonna shoot you. You just punch him. You're invincible.
Yep.
And Derek's like, no, guys, no. I switched the drugs. Derek, why did you switch the drugs?
You switched the samples.
Why did you switch the drug? Wasn't this your plan? I was like, I switched the drugs. So next time they do something death-defying, they'll die. Mm-hmm. Great plan, Derek. These are dangerous people who've kidnapped your friends and are going to kill you. Yep. Great plan. But then he's like, oh, no, that wasn't my plan. I guess I switched the drugs because drugs are bad, but I didn't actually want them to die.
So they make a big show of trying to prove that they are invincible by standing... So they're back on the death bridge that they were on before. They make a big show, Claudia and Chapin, of being like, we're going to jump and we're going to be fine. You'll see. You're lying.
He's throwing the money off the bridge. It's like, it's the ultimate getaway. No one can chase us down here.
Exactly. And then...
Derek's like, no, guys.
He is begging them not to jump. I'm like... like, to be honest, like, I know they're human beings and everything, but in the world of this show, why do you care? Like,
Yeah.
like,
I think, is Derek a good guy? Maybe he's just a really good guy and he can't see anybody, come to the consequences.
I think that the fact that he's the main character in this TV show, we have to assume he is a good guy.
And at the early 2000s, you can't have your main character be like, sucks to be you.
Jump
You
off a
brought
bridge,
it on
bitch.
yourself."
Yeah. Yeah, because, well, to be honest, he tries a little bit harder with Claudia, I think, because she has shown some softness.
She's just been led astray by a bad boyfriend.
Although she did backstab him earlier on when she told Chapin about the fact that Derek was, like, play acting and stuff, whatever. But he does try to talk Claudia down, and she has, the speech about, what kind of a life is there out for me now, and I'd rather be dead and all that stuff. Just replace the
It's
weird...
my decision, Derek, and you have to respect that.
That's a really weird line when someone is about to jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange.
But they both jump off the bridge.
They both jump off the bridge. We don't see their mangled corpses.
Nah, the hell are dead.
Which we have to assume they're dead unless they're going to come back.
Yeah.
But we have to assume they're dead. And one of the characters, as they're walking away, says, "She's gone." And then another character says, "She was gone a long time ago."
Did he say that?
Yes.
Did I just miss that bit?
Yes, you did.
It's the drugs.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys promised me if I ever get into drugs, you'll be there for me to help me say no.
Hey, you know what? If I ever say I want to jump off a bridge, don't let me.
No, not even if it's my decision.
Yeah, because my decision-making skills will be severely affected by all the drugs.
That's true. But look, it was in the end like a lovely love story. It's a Romeo and Juliet thing.
That's true.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde.
They went out together.
Thelma and Louise.
Avril Lavigne and the skater boy. He was just a bad dude. She was a girl. They had super drugs.
Yeah, it's one of the all-time classic romances.
And then we can only assume that all of these main characters got in their car and drove back to Florida. The end.
Well, Jason literally, the last line of the episode literally is Jason reassuring Derek by saying, "Let's go home."
And the cop's like, no.
There's so much paperwork.
This armored guard is dead on the street. They
Yeah.
shot the guy driving the armored car.
Yeah, and also the armored car guy, I mean, if he does survive, he's going to be like, "I thought I killed that guy.
Yeah.
You're telling me he's fine."
Also, they got shitloads of money. They threw it off the bridge.
Yeah.
It's still down there.
They got to go
There's
get it.
so much paperwork at this point.
Yeah, they never stick around for the admin. They just get that. That's why there's such a backlog in police paperwork, because people
Got to
just
get over that border.
hightail it out of town. They're going to be like, they're going to have to do an investigation into the coroner and why he's been so free and loose with his information and body parts. And then the coroner's going to have to explain him. He's going to have like a meeting with HR.
Yeah, they're like, look, I know you're the only coroner within this entire county area. That he's making a break for it. He's throwing hearts at us. Stop him.
It's always a small town. That's the thing about like X-Files. X-Files as well. It's always these tiny towns. These things never happen in the bustling streets of Chicago.
And that coroner's name was Herbert West.
Not to say that Jeffrey plays them similarly, but there are a lot of Jeffrey Combs characters in various projects he does that have a lot of similar qualities. But that's because he's very good at playing oddballs.
Absolutely.
Because he's a cool guy. We
Just
like him.
Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a lot of muscly guys.
That's true. But you know what? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, talented actor can also play an everyman.
Absolutely. One day, governor of California.
Well, sometimes you watch a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're like, this insanely muscly man with an Austrian accent is just Joe Blow, who is a dad and has a normal job. Believable.
I always did love that about Arnie movies.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, what do you mean? Of course I'm a computer programmer.
What? Yeah, he's. I mean, even when he was like not doing the Mr. Universe stuff, he was still so jacked
and so Austrian.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like in True Lies, standing next to like Tom Arnold or whatever it is. Just being like, I'm just normal American man like you.
It's pretty funny though, because if you got any other person and you put them in just regular American man role and they were like, Hello. Welcome to my house.
This I am every man.
I want American dream.
I want a cheeseburger.
I am a computer programmer.
I work with computers. I love NASCAR.
Right? You'd be like, are they not going to explain this?
No, and you know what? I respect films for respecting the audience enough. Back then, I respect them for respecting the audience enough to not really give a shit.
Yeah.
Because it was fun.
I'm not gonna hand it to films on that one. I think just everyone has Arnie blindness because you know him, you know who he is. If you showed someone an Arnie movie from scratch, they'd be like, "What?"
Also, I don't think I've ever heard Arnie off or on screen try to do a straight American accent. I genuinely don't think he could.
I don't think he's ever been asked to. I think you wouldn't cast Arnie for that.
But I don't actually think he could.
I bet he could.
I
have faith.
I don't
in
know.
Arnie's acting ability.
I don't know. He's got even now pretty thick accent.
Yeah,
like
but
it's
that's because that's his trademark.
That's true.
He couldn't lose that. That's his whole thing.
Yeah. I watched Subway the other night. There's no reason you should have watched. You should have already seen
Haven't
this.
even heard of it.
It's by the same director of The Fifth Element.
Okay, I have seen that. One of my favorite movies. Really, Luke Besson.
Yeah. It's a film he made in '85. It's just about a bunch of subway freaks.
Cool.
Not freaks in the sense of adrenochrome people, but freaks in the sense of just like oddball kind of subculture people. And look, the movie's fine if you don't pay attention to it too much because it's a movie based on vibes. It's just meant to be very cool. Right. But importantly, it is a French film.
Of course, it's Luc Besson.
Yes, but as in it's in French. And it was nice to...
You just had that ineffable Frenchness.
No, well, it did. It very much did. But it was also in French. And it was nice to hear Christopher Lambert speaking French because most of the films I've seen him in is him speaking English with often an incomprehensible accent. So yeah, that's Freakylinks.
And then a whole bunch of Arnold Schwarzenegger talk.
Yeah, look, that's fine. Yeah, it's insane. It's an insane one episode to go with. I actually genuinely would like to watch the other episodes.
I am tempted. I just want to... It's like Supernatural, but in the early 2000s, and I reckon if you went back and watched Supernatural in 10 years, you'd be like, yeah, this is made whenever that was made.
Yeah, and, I imagine that, like X-Files, it would change it up a lot where some episodes would be about, a phenomena. Some episodes would be about an actual monster. Some might be about something serious, like a plague or something.
Call me a cynic. I'm imagining a lot of them aren't very good.
You don't know. You don't know. But it is all free on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it. It's the episodes are they're only 45 minutes. I reckon worth a look in. Obviously, I mean, if you are going to watch them, maybe watch them from the start and don't just dive into episode 10 like we did. But Jeff was only in one episode, so what impetus
one they made.
What impetus did I have to watch any of the others?
Yeah.
But now that I have, it's fine. I didn't mind it. Yes, with the caveat that it is extremely early 2000s, and Jeff is having fun in it.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, find us on Napster, drop us a hotmail, look us up on MSN.
I remember, and I mean, I don't want this to just become like, I remember this old person podcast, but I do remember early internet having like proper chat rooms, like the way we think of chat rooms now, like just being like a person just looking for a chat room that's like, oh, here's a chat room that's about heavy metal music, and just wandering in and talking to people. Forums
only died relatively recently. All we've got left is Reddit.
And what's it? Quora.
Yeah, it's not even the same.
Quora's weird. Quora's a very strange. The formatting on that website's very fucked, and I hate using it.
That's doing like micro forums, but in a very new internet way.
I wonder why Reddit has survived. Do you think it's because of all the sub niches?
I think it's just because they haven't managed to kill it yet. I think Reddit, has only survived out of luck. And it's only become such an essential part of the internet because everything else is friggin' shit. That's
true. There is a huge amount of people who, especially because as Google has gotten worse, it used to be that if you had a question or you wanted to know something, you would say Google it. Whereas now you would say Reddit it because you are less likely to find the answer on Google because of how shit Google's search results are now. Yeah. Whereas if you genuinely need an answer to something, you can find a subreddit that is probably covering the exact same thing you need.
And the problem is there'll be other forums that are better and have better information, but you can't Google them anymore. So you
Yes.
don't know they're out there unless you
Yeah.
try really, really hard.
Well, because Google doesn't have pages anymore, as in the first page of results. You can just keep scrolling. It's the end.
Is that how it works now?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's how it works.
I've never scrolled that far.
Well, I don't know. I use Google Chrome. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's if it's different on different
I think it does
browsers.
have pages.
It
But
doesn't-
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
It doesn't for me. Like when I Google something, it's just the endless scroll,
Yeah,
same as
okay.
anything else. But yeah, it used to be that if you really wanted to find something fucked, you would just go to the second or third page of results.
Well, it used to be that the first page would be where all the good results were, and then it'd become increasingly rotten. But now the first page is fucked, and you often have to go to the second or third page to find the actual websites, because everything else is SEO optimized garbage.
But it's not necessarily the answer. You still have to go into the website and see that it actually says what to take for thrush if this, and call your doctor and blah blah blah. Like and also it's so all of the, like, Google is almost entirely like sponsored posts now, and
It's very bad. We've become another podcast at this point that we are not qualified to speak on.
hey, as internet users, I think we're qualified. We're citizens of the internet,
Yeah.
Thomas.
We know it's bad, but we don't know exactly why.
We don't know how it's gotten so bad, but it is shit. And there is an article that I like that I will link on the socials called something like "The Internet Looks Like Shit Now," and it's basically about why the internet looks like shit now. But I will track that down and give it to you, loyal listeners. Anything to plug, Thomas Lang?
No, I'm just
You're not
just
really
a
on.
dude now.
You're not really on Twitter anymore, are you?
No.
No.
I think I still have some socials there, but I don't use them.
Yeah.
So I like doing things in real life.
Wow.
If you want to give me a job, get me to talk about something in real life, I enjoy being invited to things.
Yeah.
But I am not doing stuff on the internet.
The meat space.
RL, as we used to call it.
I am still all about the internet. You'll take it out of my cold dead hands because escapism is fun. You can follow this podcast on all the usual places, at Reanimates Pod or at Reanimates Podcast. And this will be on YouTube and stuff. YouTube, again, unusable, but it's fine. There's for a whole other podcast. Maybe that'll be what I start covering when I've exhausted all of Jeff's
Lisa
media.
branches into tech news. I want to see that.
Well, look, it certainly won't be me reporting, but it'll be me getting much smarter people to talk about why the internet's fucked. It's a good idea for a podcast. Wouldn't be surprised if it already exists.
I'm sure it doesn't, Lisa. No, you be the first.
No, I'd be the first. I'm going to go looking for it. I'll let you know, listeners, if I find it. reporting from cyberspace.
Lisa Googling. Podcast about the internet.